so much for spending your day with your sweet Danny J. Today we have an awesome show in store for you. Did you know that the statistics say, I don't know if I'm saying that word right or my tongue is getting in the way, but statistics, we're going to go with that, basically says that there is one person killed every 8 hours by an officer-involved shooting. And so with that kind of statistic, people get such a bad feeling about our law enforcement officers. But they are still here. But do you know that most of them get paid about $10, $11 an hour to put their life on the line for each and every one of us? And so, you know, when you're looking at that, but some people do it because they love the job. They just want to be there. They feel like that was their calling, just like some people were called to save lives as doctors. People were there as nurses. They put your lives in their hands, and we put our lives in the officers' hands. And they just want to be there for us. So today we want to see what everything is going on, and we want to look at life and society through the eyes of law enforcement officers, because I love my law enforcement officers. I did a couple of, but we'll come back to that. So again, I love my officers, but we're going to do that and more, and we're going to dispel some of the myths that people have about police officers when your sweet Danny J returns.
Hello, I'm Joe Weeks.
And I'm Joya Davis.
Let's face it. No one goes to an attorney because things are going great. You come to us because you need help.
You need someone who will listen, someone who will understand.
Whether you've been injured in a car wreck or arrested for DUI.
Facing a divorce or considering adoption.
Here at the law offices of Joe Weeks and Joya Davis, we feel it's important to meet with you to help you find a solution.
To put your mind at ease.
We're here for you. Call us at 404-296-1444.
We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome back, and this is going to be a phenomenal show. Y'all see I'm sitting right at the table. They got me sitting right at the table to keep me focused. We're going to be speaking with law enforcement officers today, and we're going to start with Correctional Officer Sergeant Terrence Gibson Sr. Did I get all the titles in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now Officer Sergeant, sir, I don't really know what to do.
Just Sergeant Gibson, ma'am.
Sergeant Gibson is good. Okay, now how long have you been in law enforcement?
10 years, ma'am.
What made you get into law enforcement?
Well, after getting out of the military, left government safety and then went to public safety.
Okay, so you were MP in the military?
No, ma'am. I was 92 Alpha, but you ain't got to hold me to that. I like to just say the acronym that way they think it's something,
It's 92 Alpha? It makes me feel like I'm talking
I issued toilet paper, if that's what you want to know.
Toilet paper is very important. You ever run out? So, but, well, with that said, now you work in the correctional facility.
Yes,
what
ma'am.
did you do before you got into that location?
I was a deputy in Norfolk. And then when I transferred down here, decided to go indoors. Because you had a choice in Norfolk to be indoors or outdoors. And a little outdoors, I wasn't really feeling it too much, so I came indoors.
Okay, now when you're there, tell me what life is like behind bars. I hate to use that term, but I guess that is the term. What is life like behind bars?
Well, the way our facility runs, we keep a pretty good check on our inmates. We keep them facing the wall as the supervisors go down the hallway, just for accountability purposes, just to make sure you know where they're at all times. We keep our facility pretty clean because you coming in can get infections just as much as them inside of the facility. We keep it pretty tight-knit. I mean, it's not like what the TV would show you where fights going on every 20 seconds and we're abusing the inmates. And no, we don't have to do that.
You don't have to worry about
no, ma'am. We have a strict policy on how we keep our inmates, and we pretty much keep them, accountable at all times. And it's more of a ass, tell, mate type situation. And mate don't mean beat them until they do it. It's like ass, tell, and then okay, I'm gonna take some stuff away from you, and then maybe you might come back and do what we told you to do the next time.
Now, is it cigarettes? Is that the hottest thing on the market in prison still?
Probably prison, ma'am, but not at our jail.
Okay, in your facility.
Yes, ma'am.
what is the hottest thing on the market? Like, you know, when people come and I put your money on your books.
Yes, ma'am.
What are they buying after the money is there?
It's between honey buns and oodles and
I
noodles.
love some honey buns.
I mean,
anybody can put money on my books for some honey buns.
you get stock. You get stock in either one, you'll be doing pretty good.
Now, I work in the legal field,
Yes.
and I see a lot of people come in and out, and I am harder on my son because of what I see. You are a father of 6, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Honey, bless you. but as a father, do you see that you're more difficult on your children because of what you see in the, you know, in the system?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I remember before when in my Army days, my wife would tell me to turn the soldier off when you come home. But even as you go through law enforcement, you see what these people do. I mean, it's not like they're like aliens. There's people that made mistakes. And some of them might have just made the first mistake. And it cost them the rest of their life, you know, span out inside of a facility instead of living it out and having a family. You're stuck in a facility for something one time you made, like driving down the street, texting and driving. Who all does that? So
Not me.
Oh.
Not me. Not me at all. Not me. Not me. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, even if you crash into if you hit somebody while you're texting and driving, that's homicide, really. So you can go to jail and all you're doing was texting and driving. I'm not saying that you're a bad person, good person. I don't really believe in good people because, you know, that's just, anyway. Just because you're driving and you're texting, it don't mean that you meant to kill somebody, but
Right.
It happened. And now you're behind bars 15, 20 years, and your life has just changed. And I see a lot of people that meant to go, and people that wasn't raised right. The most, recidivism. The highest rate of recidivism is young men that come from homes that didn't have a father.
Oh, wow.
The percentage is horrible. It might be about 80%.
Now, is that the same for females though? Like in a female facility, would the homes without fathers, would that make a difference between what they're doing as well?
Yes, ma'am. Because really what you learn from your father is a man learns how to be a man and a woman learns how to trust a man from their father. So if they would have been there and played a better part, they wouldn't have been turned over to the streets. I mean, because the women come in for all kind of stuff, and most of them come in, and it's fun. It's not funny. I mean, most of them come in for something they did connected to a male.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
I told them they was trouble, but I just love them. I just love them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I
ma'am.
do the best I can, but they're just so sweet. Some of them are just so sweet. Some of them didn't have mothers, and that's where I step in.
Oh, wow.
But now, with that said, do you find yourself mentoring a lot of the inmates that just didn't, you know that they just got on the wrong track? So do you find yourself kind of nurturing them, you know, when they get in, or do you kind of just keep your distance from them?
No, ma'am. I mean, I pretty much nurture them as much as possible because the inmates belong to me while I'm inside the jail. So I try to give as much motivation to them to change their life. Like when I'm orientating them, you know, you're supposed to go over the book stuff, but I always get into personal stuff. Because what get them there and remind them about their family that's outside. Remind them about their children that the world is raising. Remind them about all the things that's going on outside of their household while they're stuck inside of jail. Because some of these guys, I see them all the time. There's not too many people in that jail that I don't really know. Just that's how much they actually come back and forth.
Oh my gosh, they got a home there. It's like a home away from home.
Yes, ma'am. There's somebody said they put something in the sacks, but I don't know how true that is.
I guess, and one of the questions that I have, considering everything that's going on in the society, does that bleed over into the prison system? Do you have any on television you'll see like race riots and all of that, but do you see the tension from society bleeding over into the prison system?
No, not really. Because like I said, we keep a tight knit on everything that's going on. I mean, we pretty much pay attention so we can see something from afar going on before it actually takes place.
So is everybody in like a pink room? I had a psychologist tell me one day that everybody went there to calm down, was in a pink room, and and they only watch cartoons and stuff like that to keep them calm, keep everybody at a right there at the medium. Is that like that? What is life like in the system?
Well, I mean, the walls are painted like a monotone color, just to keep, everything down. But the only paint going on is in Arizona. I mean, he's doing a good job. I'm not knocking him. He's doing an excellent job with Tent City out there. But that's the only person that actually does the paint. But we just, our walls are like, what do you call, earth colors, earth tones, stuff like that to keep it calm and collective. And we keep it, smelling good throughout the hallway, just so, just for the peace to walk through, because you never know what the guy coming down the hallway
just got in court. All I keep hearing is pink and lavender, pink and lavender. Calm, calm, calm. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Sergeant Gibson, and we're going to talk about the hardest thing about working in that environment and being able to continue your everyday life when your sweet Danny J returns. Chatting with Sergeant Terrence Gibson. He is a correction officer in our systems and in a high crime prominent system as well. Now I wanted to ask you, when people come into the system, there's a different mentality that somebody's supposed to have as opposed to what they do have. What is the mentality that you see amongst the young people that come in there, when they come in prison and get in the system?
Well, nowadays it's more like a joke to them somewhat. I mean, it's like it really doesn't kick in till they really start going to court. Now, before it used to be like they'll come in, get patted down, they'll go over, get booked in. Then when they get over to get, the picture taken where they stand to the front, stand to the right, stand to the left. That's usually when it kicks in. But some people be smiling, joking. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, it's that loss of responsibility. It's like they just believe that that's part of their life, or they're living their favorite rapper's dream that, if he really been to jail as many times as he said or did as much as he said, he would already be in jail and wouldn't be cutting records. But they're the ones that actually doing the time while these guys making millions of dollars.
And what do you think now, because you see it, the society versus being in there, what are they attributed to? Is it the rappers? Because I don't want to put the blame on anybody, but is it rappers? Is it the sensationalism of this kind of thug mentality and thug life that is influencing this mentality when they go to prison?
Well, I wouldn't blame it all on the rappers. I think everybody just tapped into the same system. You like, well, we gonna promote being a thug, and they gonna try to be a thug. But the ones that's trying are the ones that's coming to see us. And it's not really working out too well for them at all. I mean, that's why, that's why they come back through the door, and a lot of times they'll come in and they'll get put on probation, and they'll take instead of doing this is how much they really have a loss for life, that instead of doing 6 months to a year, they'll take 6 years probation. You just got in trouble. So you think you're going to be able to be good for the next 6 years? So it's really just like putting something over your head and just waiting for it to drop.
Wow. So, there's a saying that pride comes just before a fall. Exactly when do you see the humility sink into the people that are coming into the system and realizing this is not a joke anymore, this is my life, and I need to straighten up if I ever get another chance? At what point do you see that sink in?
Like I said, around the time when they're getting their pictures taken and fingerprinted. It's usually starting to kick in, and they start, because you can read what you're in here for, and it's starting to kick in okay, this is getting real. And once you put your finger
down.
Once you put your finger on that ink, it's real. Because now that stuff getting submitted up to FBI, and it's going for, and that you're getting a number that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So you're now number 1756632. That's probably somebody's number.
All I hear in my head is CB4. 328-764-I6.
They wouldn't last in our jail. No, ma'am.
Officer Sergeant Gibson, sir, what is the hardest part about your job?
Pretty much just when, like you said, when you get back into motivating them, and they just really don't want to hear it. It's like they get used to that lifestyle that they think that's all there is. That's the hardest part, just to watch the same guys come in and out, in and out, in and out. Or you listen to the guy that's laughing and joking because he got 10, 12 children and he got one in each state. It ain't taking care of none of them. So all that is if he doesn't get it right and somebody don't pour into their life, like a big brother system, you got 12 more inmates coming from 12 different states. I mean, because everybody that's jumping on the world's terminology for things, they're falling off and they're coming right to visit us.
My lovies, we gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. Thank you so much for joining us today. I
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate you. When we come back, we're going to speak with Henry County Police Department Captain Joey Smith when your sweet Danny J returns. Danny J Show. Now I am sitting here with Henry County Police Department Captain Joey Smith.
Yep.
Did I get it right?
That's correct.
Okay, good. I practiced. Now, Captain Smith, you have been in law enforcement for how long now?
About 21 years, 22 years actually.
I wasn't even born when you started. That's what we're going with.
You said it.
You've seen a lot of people. You've seen a lot of things come and you've seen a lot of things go. But when we spoke earlier, you mentioned that you wanted to do two things: be a Marine or be on the police force. Now you did both.
That's right, I did. I was able to accomplish both of those.
What made you choose these careers? Because now Marines are tough. So
yeah, it was just a calling. It's just something that I always wanted to do. I didn't think I was going to be able to do either of those, but fortunately, I was able to do both of them. Very grateful that I was able to do that also.
How long were you a Marine?
I was actually started out training and then did reserve, so about 12 years.
You must have overlapped because you was a baby when
Right.
you started a Marine too. And
Actually,
then-
well, I went in when I was 20. It took me a couple of years to decide. That's a big decision to make, and I was able to make the decision.
so
and did it.
12 years plus 20.
Well, I started the police department in '94, and I had been in the Marine Corps since '91. So, as a reservist, you're part-time military.
Okay.
So, I was a full-time police officer also.
Okay, so for us, those of us who were adding, he's not that old. I was trying to count and patting and tapping.
Yeah.
Now you are also, like our previous guest, Sergeant Gibson, you are also a husband, a father, and a police officer. What else do you do? Let's find out a little bit about you.
Basically, I do what any loving father would do, or husband, be involved in my family as much as possible. I really don't have a lot of hobbies. I do whatever my kids and whatever my wife's doing, basically.
That's a good one. Did he say it right? Did he say he got it right? Good, good. I was told, I was paid good money to ask that
That's
question.
right.
But I wanted to find out, I guess my next question is, like I asked Sergeant Gibson, Captain, what is the hardest thing about being a father and a husband in this kind of system?
Well, you know, I have an advantage that I know things that's going on in the areas, and I constantly worry just about my children, just like anyone else would. I've got a 17-year-old son. He's driving. I worry about him. I don't want him to be a statistic. I constantly stay on him, maybe a little bit more than I should, but I don't want to get that phone call at night, just like anybody else would get. And I try to give him his space, just like anybody else, but I do worry about that.
And when I come home, if I've seen somebody, I'm like that, Mom, I cannot believe you. Don't you ever do that. I saw this person come into my office today. I mean, are you ever like that? Like if you arrest somebody, are you ever that hard on your kids?
As in what example? What do you mean?
As like, yeah, I go off. Now you got to bring me back. But when I come home with my son, you know, I'm always making sure that he is, and I'm using him as an example. Just the other day, this person came into my office. Are you ever using your arrests as examples to kind of get onto your kids?
Yes, an example would be we might work some type of event that's traumatic at work, and I may go home and scold my son. He hasn't done anything wrong, and I'm like, don't ever do this. And he's like, what's wrong with you, Dad? I mean, what happened today? But you gotta watch that. You gotta turn that off, and the cop stays at work, and it's Daddy when you get home. So
It is so hard to turn it off though sometimes, isn't it?
yes, it is. It's difficult because you have to prepare. You train so much, and when you've been doing it for 20 years, there's a concept called hypervigilance. And sometimes cops are always prepared. You have to be, because if you're not prepared and something happens, then you're going to be held accountable if you're not able to help or assist. And sometimes that causes problems at home when you're hyper vigilant, and you might be a little bit tense. Sometimes people think you're upset. No, you're just on guard all the time, and it's hard to relax sometimes.
I can imagine. I mean, I can imagine that you're always on guard because, I mean, I guess with like a doctor, they can't turn it off if someone's in need. They have to be the doctor at that time. So I guess, do you feel like you are always a police officer even when you're out and about?
Yes,
like that?
yeah, you are. You need to be. You're an officer 24 hours a day, and you have to remember that, of course. And we're held to a higher standard, and we are judged by the public. And you have to always be cognizant or doing the right thing at all times.
Do you, with that higher standard, and you said that you're held to a higher standard, with that higher standard, what are the pressures associated with being, because you look on television, I know television has to put something on you because you see every cop at the bar drinking, and you're like, they can't all be drinking. So what pressures do you see put on you extra because of society's just thought of a police officer?
Well, we're in the business of enforcing laws when things occur, and you really can't be doing things similar to that, and then on your off days, and then judging someone or enforcing the law for someone that's doing basically what you were doing over the weekend or at night. So you really have to be on your toes and just be sincere about your work and just do the right thing.
He is sincerely an officer of the law. And when we return, we're going to continue to speak with Captain Smith on some of the myths associated with being a police officer. And we're going to get some clear definitions. And we're going to talk about citizens on patrol. Y'all remember that. I ain't the only one in here that remember citizens on the patrol. We're going to talk about that and more when your sweet Danny J returns. I'm so glad you stuck around. We are sitting here chatting with Henry County Police Department Captain Joey Smith. Mm-hmm. Now, Officer Captain, I never know, sir, Officer, sir. Now, Police Academy had citizens on patrol. Is that a real thing? You know, that citizens can actually patrol or that citizens can participate? Because it's great to say this is what I would have done and this is what they should have done. You know, is there any way that we can participate?
There are programs. It depends on what area you live in or jurisdiction, but currently in Henry County we do have programs. We do have citizen watch programs. We do have individuals that are involved in their community, and that's one thing we push. We want our citizens to be involved in their community. We have things like a women's self-defense course specifically at the police department. We have a Citizens Police Academy that we have two or three times a year. It might be quarterly, but at least twice a year, where any citizen of Henry County can come and join, and they learn every aspect of the law of the police department, including the fire department and the courts and the sheriff's department, and they get to do a ride-along as well. So,
you know, that's a great. I didn't know about that. Mm-hmm. I thought it was just a thing because I wanted to see Bubba and them, but you know, then you hear, you know, and then you hear Citizens Arrest, Citizens Arrest. So whenever you thought about that, you know, that's what I thought about. Now, I wanted to make sure that I took time to think about this. There is a myth associated with police officers that says that they do profiling. Is that a myth, or is that, because I profile, if I'm looking through my peephole and I don't know you, you stand too tall or too wide, I'm not opening my door. Who is it? So do y'all do you profile?
Profiling is not a bad word. Okay. That's an actual word. You know, if you're speaking about racial profiling or something like that, you should not do that. We do get accused of doing that. There are techniques that law enforcement uses based on stats, based on experience, or previous incidents that we know what to look for and try to look for certain elements. Does that mean we're racially profiling a certain individual? No. We have been accused of doing that, but if a complaint comes forward and it's legitimately proven, then we'll act, with discipline or even some criminal aspects if it leads to that. But racial profiling, no, we don't do that.
Okay, so I want to clear everybody. We had spoke earlier. So when they say that we'll be on the lookout for a black man about 6'2" driving a black Chevy with tinted windows, and all of y'all get pulled over, don't be like, y'all just picking on me because I'm a black person. Well, sort of. We're not picking on you, but they have to seek out because there is an actual call out for this. So, but there is one more myth that I just wanted to clear up. And it was said that police officers like a certain kind of dessert. And I wanted to see if that was true. So what I did was I wanted to make you happy, and I wanted to be on the side of police officers. So what I did was we went and got you some donuts so you can remember our names, remember the Sweet Danny J show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take it.
But I do want to say how much I appreciate you being out there. Thank you, my lovey. She cute. I love her. I love her. I do want to say how much we appreciate, because we don't really know what you go through. And my last question would be, so just for our audience today, how does it work when you're second guessing what should become a second nature with so much going on right now? Do you find yourself second guessing, like, oh, am I doing something wrong, or is this a legitimate thing?
You just, as long as you've done the proper training and your morals are straight and just doing the right thing, you shouldn't second guess yourself. You should be aware of people's concerns or the community's concerns always, but we try not to focus on issues that are happening out of our area. If we have an issue that needs to be addressed, we're going to deal with that. We try not to let outside issues affect us locally, and we try to communicate with the citizens the best way possible. We're always very open, always very willing to communicate with the public, just as we're doing here now. I'm willing to get out and communicate and get to bond with the public.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you being on our show and just blessing us with knowledge, because knowledge is power, and it helps us relate to what's going on in society through a different point of ourselves and viewing the situation. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem. We
will have a sweet spur of the moment and the closing when your Sweet Danny J returns.
Hello, I'm Joe Weeks.
And I'm Joya Davis.
Let's face it, no one goes to an attorney because things are going great. You come to us because you need help.
You need someone who will listen, someone who will understand.
Whether you've been injured in a car wreck or arrested for DUI,
facing a divorce or considering adoption.
Here at the law offices of Joe Weeks and Joya Davis, we feel it's important to meet with you to help you find a solution.
To put your mind at ease.
We're here for you. Call us at 404-296-1444.
We'd love to hear from you.
For joining us today. It has been a pleasure being here and seeing law enforcement through a different point of view, VIEW. Now it is time for your Sweet Danny J's moment. And we're going to do it on mourning. Everyone has lost something or someone. As a nation, we've lost something or someone. We mourn the loss of our loved ones. We mourn the loss of a job, materialistic things, financial things, physical things, emotional things. We all suffer loss at one point or a time or another in our life. But the most important thing is, before we mourn a loss, We want to celebrate what we've had, celebrate the time that we have, celebrate the imprint that they've left in our lives. Because the saddest thing and the hardest thing about mourning is mourning someone who never had an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of those around us. So look at what you're doing yourself. And if you're not making a positive difference in the world that we live in today, then we will not only mourn the loss of a person, but we will mourn the loss of an opportunity and mourn the loss of a soul. So until next time, have a sweet day. Bye-bye.
Camera one, tighten up a little. Stand by, camera one. Camera's rolling. Cue talent. That's a wrap.